Can you switch me left to right?
In a minute, I sure can. Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. In just a few seconds, we're going to be doing the podcast version of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. Just finalizing a few things here, and then we're going to get the whole show rolling. I got to get Rob his...
No, okay, ignore it.
No. You are mirrored.
Right. Okay, sorry.
Let me try.
Okay.
Well, let me do this one. We'll do that. How about there we go. All right.
Top Gun.
Point around. See if you're the way you are. I can flip you around if you need me to. Is that the way you want to be?
I'm the way I want to be.
All right, very cool. All right. So, do we have show notes set up, guys?
It's a little too late to ask now.
I'm telling you. Well, this is not the recording. This is the live version. So, let me get the countdown timer out of there. Why is the countdown timer not disappearing? There, now it is. All right. At least the intro looks like it's good. All right, so let me go ahead and start pushing buttons here. Masad Ayub in 5, 4, 3.
Hey gang, this is Masad Ayub from the Pro Arms podcast. I'm here to remind you that our podcast is a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. And I'm going to suggest you do what we do and check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Treat every firearm as if it's loaded.
Never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy.
Keep your finger off the trigger until you are on target and ready to fire. Always be sure of your target and what lies beyond it.
And I don't have show notes up. I was too busy clicking other buttons and doing other things. Welcome to the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast, everybody. We're recording this one on Monday, the 3rd of January, 2022. I'm Paul Lathrop, unfortunately.
I'm Rob Morris, and on tonight's show, we talk with Shelley Hill about her Mix and Mingle coming up in May.
I'm John Richardson, and we'll talk about an anti-gun Democrat getting carjacked.
And I'm Amanda Suffolk, and I have no idea what else we're going to talk about because I put the exact same story in with other words that say that she is an anti-gun Democrat from Pennsylvania.
Well, there were two of them, so it's cool. There was one in Chicago, one in Philly. We're good.
We're good.
So climb aboard. Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 607 of the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society podcast starts right now. Okay, we are back. Rob, you were not in present last week. You were mending. What have you been up to? Yeah,
Santa brought me a flu.
Ooh.
I thought it was Omicron, but it was not from the Omicron region of France. It was just sparkling flu. Yes. I was on Bill Frady's Lock and Load radio show earlier today. Paul and I just recorded another Daily Bullet. I recorded a self-defense gun stories with Robin Sandoval, one of our frequent co-hosts here. I was on a year-end show, a guest on Meet the Pressers, and also on Cheryl Todd's Gun Freedom Radio. John, Happy New Year to you. It's great to see you again.
And to you too. Well, I had planned a hunting trip over the holidays, just before Christmas, and that kind of fell through, but it was okay. It gave me more time to play with the grandkids. I also learned yesterday that the guy I would be hunting with has now tested positive for COVID. And on Wednesday, I'm headed to Dallas to attend the Dallas Safari Club convention, which runs Thursday through Sunday. And my goal is to go to Africa in 2023. And I thought it's about time to get serious about planning. Plus, it's Dallas. It's cool. I think my hotel's, I could walk to the grassy knoll, so to speak. So, Amanda, you said you've been traveling.
Yeah, I've been traveling. Bob and I headed to Florida, and my plan was we drove down, I flew back, and I was flying on one of the busiest days of the year. So my plan was no luggage, no anything to get back home. So I traveled with another person's gun, and I left it in Florida. So there you go.
Oh,
and,
all right.
And I do want to report that I did not get a flamethrower for Christmas. And I'm sad. I'm extremely sad about that.
Oh.
But did you get to see AOC when you were...
No. Did you see how many people got flamethrowers for Christmas, though?
No.
I don't know why I didn't get the memo. That's what I don't know.
And so, was it an official Red Ryder flamethrower? Oh, sorry.
Something like that. Could be. So, Paul, what about you and Susan?
Well, let's do Susan first. Susan's what's up with you? Is Susan on the microphone? Susan, are you on the microphone?
Susan is not.
Well, what's been up with you this week?
Nothing. I just been working, checking on a few things here and there, cooking.
Okay. All right.
Carrying, shooting.
The
That's about it.
disembodied voice of Susan.
Yes.
No.
She agreed to come back. She agreed to come back to read the news, but she said she would not be on camera. I said, we can deal with that.
So someone did say that I was the voice of PSP, so there you have
Yes.
it.
As far as me, it's been, obviously, there are no green leaves in Sioux Falls this time of year, so I'm not sitting outside in front of a flowing waterfall. I got a green screen. I've been doing a lot of configuring that, and those of you who are paying attention during the breaks, yeah, it's not totally dark in the room with only light on me either. So, yeah, I've been doing a lot of configuring and honestly playing with that too. I've got other scenes I could, but I'm not going to put up. Let's put it that way. That I've been playing with. So, getting some of that set up, and it's unbelievably complex with the broadcast software I have, because I had to change. I've got 3 different shows that I'm on camera for, and I have to go in and do a lot of configuring in all those shows to get everything just right, so that my forehead still shows up and what is to the side of me is not supposed to show up doesn't. And if I lean up, my t-shirt shows and logo shows, and it doesn't show that my chest is hollow. It's finicky stuff. I'm telling you, man. If I've got the wrong colored t-shirt on, I could
Oh,
lean
you
up.
disappear.
Yeah, I lean up and my chest looks like it's hollow. So, yeah. Anyway, not a lot gun related for me. Just carrying every day and going through the holidays for me, going through New Year and had a really pleasant get together with Susan's family and carrying and all that stuff. Not a lot really gun related. I didn't get a flamethrower either, and I didn't, doggone it, get the Desert Eagle in 50 AE. So, just, continuing on.
What was Santa thinking?
I'm telling you. Well, the FN that I did get is not a bad second prize.
No.
So, and I'm not going to reach back there and get it because we got knocked off of YouTube once for that. I'm not going to risk that again. Let me see if we got any comments. Wow, we've got a lot of comments. I'm not going to get to them just yet. We have got very patiently waiting for us Shelley Hill from the Complete Combatant. and she wants to, and we want to talk to her about the Mingle, which is coming up in May. So we're going to step aside to break here real quick. After, you know what, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Self-Defense Radio Network. As you can see, Polite Society Podcast is there, Self-Defense Gun Stories, Riding Shotgun with Charlie, Eye on the Target Radio, Firearms Chat. A lot of great podcasts are up there. If my math is correct, 6 times 3 is still 18. Although one of those, Armed Society, is going away because of my stroke. I've got to start cutting some stuff out of my workload, and that is falling by the wayside. So 17 shows on the network. Go check them out. You can listen right off the website. The subscription information is right there should you decide to subscribe. And you should subscribe to all of them. But all your favorite pro-freedom podcasts in one place. That's at sdrn.us. Go check it out. We are going to step aside to break. When we come back, Shelley Hill will be with us, and we'll get to that right after this.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have vowed to take away your Second Amendment rights through gun bans, gun confiscation, and government regulations. Now, Joe Biden is no longer hiding his real intentions, and we need you to take action now.
Whether it's a 9mm pistol or whether it's a rifle is ridiculous. I'm continuing to push to eliminate the sale of those things. But
the Biden administration is coming after your right to own any gun, and we need you to text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Joe Biden has already issued executive orders. He is now demanding Congress push through radical gun legislation. You can fight back to stop Joe Biden's gun grab, but you must text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Take action to protect your right to keep and bear arms. We urgently need millions of Americans to text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221. Text PROTECT2A to 888-762-0221.
All right. And Shelley, everybody, this is Shelley Hill. She is one of the two people behind the Complete Combatant. And Shelley, if I need to give you extra time at the end of the interview, I will. But I've just got to do this. I looked up at the screen at the wrong time. Biden was speaking, and in that ad at that time, and I swear to God, I had a flashback to my teenage years, and if anybody remembers when they were a kid watching the original Star Trek, the original series on rerun, episode number 1, The Cage, the aliens with the big heads that had the veins running all through the forehead, that was President Biden. I looked at the screen the wrong time. That image would not leave my head. So, sorry, Shelley.
Thank you for sharing.
If we need to, Shelley, I will give you extra time at the end of the interview. But the Mingle. This is what number? Year number 4 or year number 5?
6.
6.
I think we're 6.
All right.
Tell us about the Mingle.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Tell us about the Mingle.
The Mingle. The Mingle started, I think it was like 2017. And actually, I was in Vegas in January at SHOT Show. And the beautiful Cheryl Todd invited me to a little mix and mingle there. And I enjoyed it very much. And on the way home, I just turned to my husband and said, honey, I think we need to have something like that in Atlanta. So we did it that year, and it was 4 hours in a restaurant. And here we are 5 or 6 years later, and it's a full 2-day event. And we've actually outgrown our own range, which the timing couldn't have been more perfect. But it is now a full 2-day event with training throughout both days, and of course still mingling. Our focus is continuing education and networking within the firearms community, and we're focusing on ladies with the continuing education. And there's so many firearms instructors that are female out there that don't have the time to work on themselves, on their own proficiency or networking and their own goals as far as marksmanship, and other things that they mindset, so on and so forth. So this is just a weekend kind of dedicated to them to get training themselves and to meet new people in the community. So that's what we've got going on. This year it is May, hold on, I got my notes right here because I'm always going to forget the numbers. It's May 21st and May 22nd.
And we've got two ladies that have been to previous Mingles on the air right now, and Amanda and Susan. Susan, what was your impression when you went?
Oh, I loved the Mingle. It was fabulous. I learned so much and met so many people.
I think that some of the people that Susan met, it was one of our first or second Mingles. And I think you guys are still friends and going back and forth with a handful of those ladies. I know you are because I've seen the relationship. So just being there for 4 hours or half a day or a full day, whatever it was, that one time, here we are years later, and you guys are still networking. It's awesome.
I think the interesting part is I was at one of the 4-hour ones. Maybe if Susan was at the first one, I was at the second one, or I was at the first one and she was at the second one. Somehow we made that work, and then I was at the last one, and this I fully intend to be at the next one. Susan, what about you?
I will be there.
You are coming?
We're gonna three amigos it.
You want to tell them the plan, Susan?
Paul and I are going to jump on our motorcycles the 16th of May. We're going to drive down to Louisville and meet Amanda on her motorcycle, and we're all coming in.
I didn't know that.
I said we were going to Thelma and Louise and sidekick it, but Paul didn't like that idea.
We're going to have 2 roses, 1 thorn.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my gosh, how fun. Well, I know we had talked about we wanted Polite Society podcast to kind of be the featured, if you want to call, media, because we're talking about it now, and we'll probably hit it one more time before the Mingle, and then I think we're probably going to talk about it after. So we've got kind of a pre, during, and post talking about the Mingle, the changes, what we've learned, who came,
well,
and
that's
share
that's
some
kind of why we thought we'd bring Paul.
Hey, Paul, thanks for coming. Hey, we're going to put you to work, too. We're going to put you to work.
This story of my life, sure.
I love it. This year is pretty special. We've moved it from Dahlonega, and we knew we were going to outgrow Dahlonega because our range will only hold 32 shooters max, and that's 16 targets, 2 relays. So that's it. So we've had to cut off the registration for the Mingle at 32 for the last 2 or 3 years. So we just kind of turned some lemons into lemonade, and we are now going to a range that's about an hour away that I've shot on many times and have known these people and this board and these members over at Pickens County for many years, and they've invited us there, and they've got 7, 8 ranges and 400 or 500 yards rifle, so on and so forth, and it's amazing. So we're going to be able to have 60 ladies register, and it's not going to be just a 2-hour block here or there. It is going to be full days of training. Both days we're supplying lunch, we're supplying all the parking, we're supplying all the range fees. We've still got our sponsors taking care of half of their registration. So I mean, it's wide open. We've got Lee Weems will be teaching a shooting block, and we've got Brian, of course, teaching a shooting block, and then we've got Howard Mabry, and we've got Nathan Good. They are doing a presentation and also doing a block on shooting HKs, because HK is still going to be there. They're still our main sponsor, and they're supplying all the HKs with ours and them, and so everybody gets an hour and a half of experimenting with the dot, with HKs, VP9s and Hollow Sun, or iron sights or whatever, but it's actually going to be a training block from HK as well. So we've got a heck of a weekend, and then the end on Sunday. I've changed this as well. Amanda, you'll probably recognize this, that we usually do the mingling part on Saturday morning. Well, I've changed it to do it on Sunday afternoon. And that's because people have trained all weekend together, and they're already bonding, right? They're already working together and excited to be next to each other, and they're already sharing stories. So if they're doing that on their own, wouldn't that be awesome to give them time to truly connect on Sunday afternoon from 1 to 6 with an outstanding lunch and all the gifts and door prizes and all that stuff? And when we're done, we hug and we send everybody on. It's just kind of like a great closing to a fantastic networking weekend. So yes, everyone has to hug. We don't have to, but I encourage
guess we have to.
So yeah, I'm real excited. This is we're embarking on something that is growth. It's just some serious growth, and that just people are interested and they're excited about it, and that just gets my little ears red, my little face smiling too, because we get to be a part of people just continuing education, and there's nothing better than that. Nothing better than helping others learn. So
let me ask, is registration for the Mingle open?
Not quite. Thank you for look at Amanda. No, she texted me this morning. It opens Wednesday, I think it is. It's going to be January 5th, and it opens at 9 a.m., and that's Eastern Standard Time. And last year we sold out those 32 spots in just roughly a week, with very little cancellation. So my waiting list, I was able to get to a few people, but not a lot. So honestly, guys, I don't know what this year will bring. If you're interested, get on it. And I'm not just saying that, just get on it. I don't know how fast the 60 will go. I mean, it's only $270 for a full weekend of training with all food, all everything. So it probably could go pretty quickly, but who knows? Who knows? Just don't drag your feet.
So we're looking at 36 hours before registration opens. Where do they go to register?
They'll just actually go to the website. It'll be thecompletecombatant.com, and you'll see where there's annual events. You'll see the Mingle 2022, and if you are new to this, then you would scroll down that page and you would fill out a little invite me. And that's where I'm going to ask your contact information and what you do in the firearms industry. Once you qualify for that, then I would email you a personal invite with a link to the Eventbrite and also a special code so you can register. All previous guests and all guests that have contacted me over this next year that want to get invited and have been approved to come, then they've already received their invites, and they're hopefully all just sitting around waiting until 9 o'clock to get in there and register. And once again, but you can, if there's somebody listening that is a lady that's in the firearms industry, that is a very, very broad statement. So don't feel like, ooh, maybe not. I want you to email me because you may qualify to come in and hang with us. That would be absolutely awesome. So all you got to do is email me, and then we'll find out if you can come this year.
Yeah, she's got a pretty low barrier to entry because she lets me come.
You're kind of in the industry. Oh, I would if I had my way.
Groucho Marx does all of her writing. You know that.
Right.
So
excellent.
This won't transfer very well for the podcast listeners, but if you're catching us on video, this is what the website looks like. And if you scroll all the way down for the Mingle, this is the Complete Combatant and the Mingle page on the Complete Combatant. If you scroll all the way down, there is, down on the left, right there is where you go to the submit for the invite list. So
awesome. Hey, thanks for adding that. That's super cool.
No worries. It took me all of 30 seconds work. No big deal. Wait till you get the bill.
Yeah, right. So, one thing I do want to add is every year we do a fundraiser that would be split between Rachel's Rest, which you guys are very familiar with. It's a nonprofit organization that helps women of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and children. So we split the proceeds from that. And this year we did something a little different. We did the Mingle, of course, in May, but we had our fundraiser over October through December. And we raised $4,200. And my goal was $2,000. So we were $2,000, almost $200 over. And we did all of that. Somebody got to networking, because in the last 48 hours of that particular raffle is when the $2,200 came in. It was amazing thing to see. So next year we'll do the same for 2022, is it'll be split between the Mingle of the next year and, of course, Rachel's Rest. So everybody that helped us make that goal and beyond, thank you so much for that, because I know Paul and Susan, everybody here shared that information, so thank you guys.
Well, and we go ahead, Amanda.
Oh, I was just going to say, so this is broken up into sections of time with different instructors. How is that? Did I miss that when you were talking about it, or give us a little more detail on that?
Yeah, we're doing something a little bit different for us. And let's say that we have 60 people, which is what I would assume, or around there, right? So we've got 60 people. That means Lee will take 20, Brian will take 20, and Howie and Nate will take 20. And they'll train for 3 hours with them. Then there'll be that lunch. Then everyone swaps. Okay? What's it called? Round robin? And then they'll go to the next one. So everybody gets to train. So day one, we'll have 2 groups, 3 groups, but they'll all move. So that means on Sunday morning, who hasn't trained with Lee, and who hasn't trained with Brian, and who hasn't trained with them, will train that morning. They'll train their 3 hours. So you've got 3 hours with each. Then we'll have an outstanding lunch, and then that's when the Mingle starts. So if that makes sense, everybody gets to train with each of these instructors, so no one's left out. And it's not a ton of people on the line. There's only 20 people in each of their classes, and there's 2 relays of 10. And then, of course, we've got outstanding AIs and RSOs and volunteers and all that stuff. So it should run pretty smooth, and everybody gets to do everything this year. So I'm very excited about that.
Well, we have got just a couple minutes before the bottom of the hour, Shelley, and I one thing I love to do every time you're on the air, I want you to, if you would, plug a little bit, and we just mentioned a little bit ago, Rachel's Rest. I think it is fantastic work that you folks do, and especially you wouldn't expect, that's something people don't expect out of the gun community, is for us to reach outside the gun community and do good things there. And you absolutely are doing that. Plug a little bit about Rachel's Rest and what you're doing there.
I'd love to. First of all, I'm going to plug you guys right back. You were one of the first people that I reached out to 5-6 years ago and asked if we could have a conversation to plug Rachel's Rest, and you guys have been on board and just answered the call to action every time. So first of all, thank you. Rachel's Rest is a nonprofit organization, and we exist to help women and children who are victims of sexual abuse or acts of violence. And we help them find a balance in life through, of course, counseling, but also we specialize in retreats. And it's retreats to find the triggers, right, to see what we can do to stop making the same decisions, poor decisions, year after year after year. So it's that type of thing. It's a growth type thing. What did happen that was outstanding is I was one of the founders, and just a year or so ago, I can't remember exactly, we were picked up by Broken Chains International, and this is a very, very large Christian organization that specializes in trauma, and this is a worldwide charity, and they have picked up Rachel's Rest. We have our own little fishbowl that we were in, and we've outgrown that. So our programs now are expanding to not just our little retreats and stuff. It's now a global, if you want to call it, system to help survivors of abuse. So still Rachel's Rest retreats, but we are now under the umbrella of the big dogs that are now being able to spread our ministry and our goals and teach others to teach our program. So that's where we're at with it now. So you can still donate to Rachel's Rest. You can still go straight to the website, which is rachelsrest.org, which is RACHEALS, spelled a little odd, .org. And you can still do everything you were doing before. We're bigger, and we're just reaching more people.
Well, Shelley, I want to thank you so much for coming on the air, and thanks for the mingle, and thanks for the work you do with Rachel's Rest. I really, this helping women and children escape abuse is something that I wish more people would get involved with, and I'm certainly glad that you are involved with it. Thank you. Thanks, guys, so much for having me, and I look forward to seeing you guys in May.
That'll be great.
It's going to be a riot. You may have some sore heinies. That's a long ride on a bike. I love it. Have a good night, you guys, and thank you again. All right,
thanks, Shelley.
Thank you.
We are going to step aside to break. When we come back, we're going to have our news segment. Right now, we're going to hear from ACLDN. Hang on right back right after this.
This portion of the Polite Society podcast is brought to you by the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you carry a defensive handgun, you need protection from the aftermath of prosecution. Even if you do everything right, you can be the victim of an overzealous prosecutor or even be falsely accused. That is where the ACLDN comes in. They provide immediate assistance when you need it most. If you find yourself under arrest, they immediately pay bail money and the retainer for your attorney. Additional funds are available for trial and civil proceedings. Beyond the money, they have far and away the best team in the industry, providing you invaluable information and training DVDs that are included with your membership and who stand ready to work with your lawyer on your defense. People like Masad Ayub, John Farnham, James Fleming, Tom Gibbons, Emmanuel Capelson, Dennis Tuller, and led by Network President Marty Hayes. Initial membership is only $135 for your first year, and you get 8 incredible training DVDs and other educational material when you join. If you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourself at your disposal right now, you need to be a member of the ACLDN. Go to armedcitizensnetwork.org and become a member today. And please mention that you heard about them on the Polite Society podcast.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. I think there's an issue on the Facebook side. I'm not getting any Facebook comments. And when I look over, the feed is still frozen on just our logo. I don't know if we're live on Facebook or not, but we are getting comments coming through on the YouTube side. And I want to get, because there's some really good comments coming in. I want to get a couple of them in. A lot of them were from our intro, but I want to get some of these comments in here. And Sandhills Media, hey bud, says, I thought the Omicron region was in Greece, not France. I need a new atlas.
There you go.
And Gun Websites, Pete says, the Mingle's a very cool event. Looking forward to hearing more about this year's. Again, Sandhills Media. The official Red Rider flamethrower. You'll burn your eye out, kid. And then Pete, I think this was pointed at you, John, wants to know, are there any existing or opportunities for 2A project collaborations with the exhibitors at the Dallas Safari Club show?
There should be. There is a very large organization that I may or may not have been somewhat critical of over the last couple of years that will have a booth there. I think there are opportunities, and that's kind of one of the things I want to do. In addition to asking professional hunters, what tips would you give? We really do need to reach out and bring self-defense, gun culture 1.0 and gun culture 2.0 together, because let's get real, their deer rifle becomes a sniper rifle when the antis get involved.
Oh, absolutely it does.
Yep.
So,
and their pheasant gun becomes a street sweeper when the anti-guns get involved.
Exactly.
And yeah, I do believe, I just did some more work. I do believe there is an issue with the feed on the Facebook side. I've got one comment on the Facebook side. That's from John just saying hello. And we've normally, by this time, got 20 or 30 comments on the Facebook, so I do not know why we're not getting comments. And the Facebook looks like it's got frozen. So, anyway, YouTube, keep commenting. We'll Susan, let's go ahead and what do we have in the news? Susan, I think you're muted. Uh-oh.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay, now you're not.
I'm not used to this yet again. But hey, guess what?
What?
Surprise! Surprise! Gun control didn't work in Massachusetts. Well, at least it didn't reduce violent crime. Based on percentage of firearms licenses, researchers found that 1 to 5% of adult Massachusetts residents had a gun license. However, results also showed the new gun control measures did not have a consistent effect on reducing 4 types of violent crimes: murder or manslaughter, aggravated assault, robbery, and rape. During the years when state legislators denied more firearms applications, robbery actually increased.
There's a shock.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The statistics show it's very odd that when they restricted it by 1%, robberies and crime went up like 7 or 8%. So it's yeah. That percent robbery.
Now I heard that echo.
You know, we've seen similar studies. We saw ones about recently in New York about firearms liability laws. Except when you look at that, 1 out of 350 accidental deaths comes from a firearm. So it's about 1 a day. Okay, you have to put that in perspective. You defend yourself with a firearm thousands of times more often than we have a firearms accident. So just like this, we want to make people safe. Well, you restricted the honest people, so they became less safe. You'd like to stop firearms accidents, so you had more people become victims. We do a tremendous job managing our lives, and people who try and give us a one-size-fits-all solution, that's what a law is. Costs lives. John, what do you think?
Well, it's going to tag along to what you were saying. Changes in law, many of the groups that are anti-gun, gun prohibitionists, whatever, are also anti-gun training. And all we need to do is look at Alec Baldwin to see how unfamiliarity with gun safety rules can have tragic consequences. And then you have to look at states where it is a requirement in like 7th or 8th grade, and it's usually coming from like Fish and Game, Department of Wildlife Resources, whatever you want to call it, where they're all given hunter training or gun safety training in 7th and 8th grade. Stuff that has a true impact. And so that people do not point guns at one another and think that if I pull the trigger, nothing will happen. Paul?
Well, my thought was this. Amanda was saying that, well, if they dropped their issuance by, I'm thinking let's reverse that. Let's go up by 10%, then violent crime will drop by 30. Let's go up by 50. Violent crime will drop. You know, that's just my thought.
I like it.
All right. Susan, we had a couple carjackings. Now, carjackings normally don't make news except for in small towns, but this made national news. Let's talk about these.
Karma means all actions have consequences. On Wednesday, U.S. Rep. Mary Gay Scanlon, Democrat, Pennsylvania, was carjacked near FDR Park in Philadelphia. Scanlon was one of 125 co-sponsors of the Mental Health Justice Act, which aimed to replace police officers with mental health specialists. She's also been an advocate of defunding the police. On Tuesday, Illinois Democratic State Senate Majority Leader Kimberly Lightford was also carjacked. Lightford played a pivotal role in passing a bill ending cash bail, among other things. No arrests have been reported in Lightford's case. However, 5 suspects have been arrested in the Scanlon case.
Now, Rob and I talked about this on the Daily Bullet now about an hour and 41 minutes ago. But what's interesting, both of these ladies are vehemently anti-gun. And Rob, do you think either of them are going to change their minds? The anti-gun legislator in Illinois, her husband had a concealed carry permit and shot at the people as they were fleeing.
No, neither are going to change their anti-gun stance. One, it generates them too much money. They get too many campaign donations from Bloomberg. 2, it works for them. They can have a security detail. They don't have to obey the rules that you and I do. So why would the rules that they don't have to obey cause them any chafe? Amanda, John, you disagree?
No, but I'm watching John's face, so I'm handing this to John because.
Well, I'm going back to Lightford. With her husband being a legal carrier, I'm glad he was armed. I'm glad he was able to defend his wife. But as we normally say during DGUs, when we analyze them, you don't shoot at people that are fleeing.
Right.
It's illegal.
You shoot to defend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's illegal to shoot at someone who's fleeing.
But if your wife is the Senate Majority Leader in a heavily Democratic state, the odds of you getting indicted on anything is between slim and none.
And Slim just left town, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so it was interesting, I mean, watching it, and it's been kind of news crickets when they talk about this, because nobody's mentioning, I mean, it came out that he had a gun, that he was defending with a gun, and then that just kind of went away. And then it was talking about the carjackings and the crime and blah, blah, blah. But the other part that's interesting is the fact that they have been Johnny on the spot, those police officers, those defunded police officers, Johnny on the spot, and have actually solved the crime, found the people, when so many other people's cars are like, well, you've got insurance, don't you?
Right. Right. They found they recovered the car in the Chicago crime. They recovered the suspects in the one in Philadelphia. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's ask any of our Philadelphia friends how quickly crimes get solved if you're not an important, famous person.
Yeah. Sandhills Media, John's got a great comment. He says, rules only apply to you people.
Yep.
All right, Susan, what's next?
Marlin is back. The first Marlin lever action to be rolled off the line since Ruger purchased Marlin last October has been announced. It's the 1895 SBL, a stainless steel receiver and barrel mounted in the laminated stock, chambered in 4570 Government. Ruger has made improvements internally and re-engineered the rear tang to prevent the stock from cracking. Ruger also refurbished the machines which came with the purchase, which improved tolerances.
4570. That's gonna thump.
There you go.
Yeah. And I should note that these were all made in North Carolina.
Oh, very cool.
Excellent.
The Ruger actually has just leased or purchased another building up in Mayodan, probably an ex-textile mill, another 225,000 square foot to 250,000 square foot building.
Wow.
And my
So
guess
this
is they're going to put a lot of the...
This is their third location then? I mean, third state, because they're in Prescott and then they're on the East Coast.
Yeah, they're in Newport, New Hampshire. Their offices are in Southport, Connecticut, but they have 25 people there. Then in Prescott, and then the third was in Mayodan, up in Rockingham County, just north of Greensboro. And originally they made stuff like the American Rimfire, but they really have expanded that. And they're doing job fairs every week to get more employees.
Well, and it makes a lot of sense if they pick up the machines to move them, that is the time to clean them up, dust them off, refurbish them, fix up whatever, so that as they land and they got put into operation, each one is working and at it as its best, living its best life, if you will.
Yeah, and I think Ruger is a good fit because they will make sure that it's engineered correctly. I think Cerberus, which became, bought Remington, it was kind of, we're going to get this company and that company. Whereas Ruger, I think, made a very strategic decision when they purchased Marlin. They didn't purchase Remington. They didn't purchase some of the AR manufacturers that were part of the Remington company. They went very strategically for Marlin.
Well, and Ruger's really a strategic company. I mean, in the fact that when they started to do it, each time, they use kind of the Henry Ford model that says, oh, I'm going to need castings. Let me buy a casting company. I'm going to need grips. Let me buy a grip company. I mean, they have, just as they expand, it's based on what their needs are to be able to be a multifaceted manufacturing facility.
You're right. I mean, as I understand it, at one time they made the cast aluminum heads for the Callaway Big Bertha golf clubs.
But what it sounds like is you're describing a firearms manufacturer who made an acquisition versus an investment firm that thought those companies might play nice together but never really had the expertise to make the marriage work. Yeah.
You hit it right on the head. Yep.
We're coming up on the end of the segment. Susan, I'm going to have you jump down to that last news segment about Georgia. That last news story about Georgia.
Former U.S. Senator David Perdue has entered the race for governor in the state of Georgia. He is attempting to outmaneuver incumbent Brian Kemp by promising to pass constitutional carry if elected. In 2018, Kemp made gun rights a top issue, including constitutional carry, but it stalled in the legislature. Kemp's campaign has said that he would push the measure next year as well.
Well, there was a text message on Susan's phone. Anyway, sounds like to me, as long as you vote in a legislature that is pro-gun in Georgia, you get a winner no matter which way you go.
I know. Okay, I've watched it a little bit. I think Purdue is in the race because Donald Trump is upset with Brian Kemp. However, you've got to remember, Purdue is a former U.S. Senator because he couldn't beat John Ossoff, which he should have creamed.
Should have.
Right.
I just need to know, is Purdue the chicken guy?
No. He's Dollar General.
Oh.
Wow.
If I remember correctly. Dollar General, one of the dollar stores.
I'm not Dollar
Might
General.
be Family
I'm
Dollar, but all right.
Private. Or maybe Dollar Corporal, but I'm certainly not Dollar General. Anyway, I want to get a couple comments in here that we need to buzz out of the news. John says, in the Pennsylvania carjacking, the FBI and the Capitol Police were involved. That's right. I do remember the Capitol Police were involved because they do have jurisdictional issues where members of Congress are involved. And Charlie Chambers has got a great one in here. I'm afraid if I look back on the year 2021, I'll turn into a pillar of salt. Argus Hamilton.
Amen.
And then also, Ford based his assembly line off of Colt's assembly lines. I'd never heard that.
Interesting.
Charlie Chambers is always full of, well, I'll just say good information.
Okay. All right. Let's do this. We got to get off to DGUs. We're going to hear from the good folks at CNJFO. We're going to get off to DGUs, and we're going to let you all out of here a little early tonight. So let's get to the break, and we'll be right back with DGUs right after this.
New Jersey is a civil rights wasteland where an unconstitutional law known as justifiable need keeps ordinary citizens from exercising their right to bear arms. New Jersey spits in the eye of freedom, ignores the Bill of Rights, and the Heller decision. New Jersey politics are an anti-civil rights bulldozer and a spreading cancer. The Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners, a tax-exempt nonprofit, has a goal to defeat justifiable need, reverse course on all anti-freedom laws, and render aid to other jurisdictions by filing Supreme Court-bound litigation. CNJFO is a beacon of freedom behind the Iron Curtain in New Jersey. Join CNJFO's strong, enthusiastic patriots. Support the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners today. Protect all our rights and return freedom to the Garden State. To donate or learn more, go to cnjfo.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Defensive Gun Use segment of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. These discussions are not legal advice. Some of us are trainers, but this is not formal training, and you need formal training. The Defensive Gun Use segment is intended as information, not as training. As always, the opinions of hosts are only their own opinions and not those of any sponsors or other affiliations, although they should be. Looks like we've got two of them. Susan, what's going on in California?
On December 12th, police were called to a home in a gated community in Garden Grove due to an assault with a deadly weapon. A man and his girlfriend were in their kitchen when her ex-boyfriend broke in through the back door and charged at him with a knife. He threatened to kill the current boyfriend. The current boyfriend was stabbed multiple times in the chest, but was able to escape and flee to a nearby business for help. He was transported to a medical center for treatment, and his attacker escaped prior to the police arriving. The ex-boyfriend had an active domestic violence restraining order against him to keep him away from the ex-girlfriend or her home. 5 days later, the ex-boyfriend was back. He broke into the home and headed up the stairs. The current boyfriend was out of the hospital, and this time he was armed. As the disturbed man was advancing up the stairs towards him, the current boyfriend fired several rounds and struck the intruder. When police arrived after the report of shots fired, they found the unwanted house guest lying face down on the stairs. He will no longer be going to terrorizing the couple, as he was headed to the morgue.
I would like it if both occupants of the home were armed. What if one of them had been downstairs and the gun was upstairs in the bedroom? Or, yes, I'm carrying it home, but I'm not at the end of the home where the break-in happens. Please, both of you be armed. You don't need a permit. You do need to know how to defend your family. Talk to your family members and walk through it. Paul, what do you think?
I got two things I want to mention here. Number one, first and foremost, a restraining order is a piece of paper. That's it, period. And most of our listeners and viewers are going to know that. After 600 episodes, that should be crystal clear. Secondly, we don't talk about this often, but high ground.
Right.
The attacker had to advance upstairs, and it's hard to do that when you're hard to advance uphill, to attack uphill. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Moreover, going up a staircase, you're going into a funnel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And going back to Rob's point, let's not forget that the current boyfriend, the good boyfriend, was just out of the hospital after being stabbed multiple times in the chest. Think about that. He's probably lucky to be alive, that he was able even to get up and handle a firearm is pretty fortunate. So it goes back to what Rob said, that you both needed to be armed.
Right. Yeah. So it says that the current boyfriend is way up there on the toughness scale.
Well, and apparently they did not watch a lot of Home Alone, because, I'm just thinking of ropes and cans of paint and... Anyway,
okay.
Susan,
we've watched that all over the Christmas.
Pennsylvania State Police received numerous calls Wednesday morning about a man acting erratically in Berwick Township near Abbotston. He was trying to enter occupied homes, banging on cars, and forcing traffic to stop. As troopers were responding to the scene, the 54-year-old man went to the home of a married couple in their late 70s. He entered the home wearing only a shirt and began hitting the elderly man with his fists. The man told his wife to retrieve a gun from the bedroom. As she went to get it, the attacker turned his attention to her. He was assaulting her as the husband entered the room. The husband was able to access the firearm and fired multiple times at the intruder. His wife sustained serious injuries in the attack and was airlifted to the hospital in critical condition. Her husband also suffered multiple injuries and was in stable condition. The attacker had been wearing shorts and underwear, but for reasons only known to him, he removed them prior to entering the couple's home. The front door had been unlocked, and the couple was relaxing in their living room. An autopsy had yet to be performed, but he had been shot multiple times with a revolver. And, of course, he was dead at the scene, since they do not perform autopsies on the living.
I'm going to steal Rob's tag phrase here. I wonder what the toxicology reports are going to say, because that guy was tuned up on something or another.
Had to have been. You're generally told to remove your shoes before entering. I think he misunderstood.
And it goes back to lock your damn door. I mean, anytime I go out to my mailbox and I come back in, I lock my door. I live in a safe neighborhood. I still lock my door.
Susan, when we let the dogs out, when we bring the dogs back in, we lock the door, right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I let the dogs out, I lock the door. I let the dogs in, I lock the door. I leave for work, I lock the door. I come home from work, I lock the door.
That's because it's just so, it upsets your whole day when Paul gets out and you have to go find him.
I know, right?
That's right.
I have to walk dark through the neighborhood going, here, Paul, here, Paul.
Oh, here, Paul.
And with Paul,
I used to be a member on this podcast until I said that.
And with Paul's memory lately, you just never know where you're going to find him.
Wow.
Remember, Paul, she still loves you.
Yes, yes.
We do too.
Do math.
Yes.
Okay, John's comment is good. Don't do meth.
Yes.
You're right.
All right.
Would be
let's see here. I think that does it for our unless there's any more we want to cover. I didn't see. I just popped over to look at comments, and I just got to check in from Pat Hirsch. Hey, Pat. I don't see. I don't see any more comments about the. So let's do this. Let's go for our final break, and we got one more segment to go, and we'll be back right after we hear from JPFO.
In 1928, Germany required its citizens to register their firearms, making possible Hitler's 1938 Nazi Weapons Act, disarming all Jews. Now ask yourself, what is the real consequence of registration? All in favor of gun control, raise your right hand. Brought to you by Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership, America's aggressive civil rights organization. JPFO.org.
All right, we are back. This is the final segment of the Polite Society podcast presented by the Second Amendment Foundation. Goodness, my tongue is not working. Get this up there very fast. And Pat is Mr. Obvious. Yes, drugs are bad. Yeah, I would totally agree. Varying degrees depending on which drugs we're talking about, but yeah. Normally at this point, I look down at the bottom corner of the screen. I say, Rob, it's been 2 weeks since you've been on the air. Normally it's not 2 weeks since he's been on the air, but this particular time, Rob, it's been 2 weeks since you've been on the air. Lots of stuff has to been going on over at Slowfax. What's going on, man?
We have about 87 million gun owners in the U.S., and as I mentioned, we have one about accidental death from a firearm a day, so the math is easy. You do a tremendous job at keeping your family safe, not only protecting it, but protecting them from accidental deaths due to a firearm. If you look at accidental deaths, we're like 1 out of 350 with a firearm. Lots of things should worry us about keeping our kids safe. You're doing a great job protecting them. But that means when a politician says, we need to make guns even safer, that's almost impossible to do. Gun control is doomed to fail because you're defending yourself 3,500 times a day. Well, how do we stop that one accident without also making it so much harder to defend yourself? If we lose one self-defense, that costs a life just as badly as if we had another gun accident. Politicians say their guns will stop lives, will save lives, but we hardly ever see them follow through after the laws get enacted. That article is called, Is Mandatory Firearms Insurance a Liability or an Asset? My articles are up at Emmaland and my blog, slowfax.wordpress.com. John, tell us what's new up at your blog. No lawyers, only guns and money.
Well, New York City has a new mayor, Eric Adams, and he's definitely an improvement over Bill de Blasio. However, he is still sticking to the old anti-gun outlook. His brand new communications director, Maxwell Young, comes to him from Everytown, where he was their chief public affairs officer in VP. Mr. Young has also worked for Chuck Schumer on and off over the years. So I think we can expect the same old coming out of New York City.
Yep.
In other news, you probably can expect higher ammo prices in 2022, at least from the Federal or Vista Outdoor companies, which is Federal, CCI, Spear, etc., due to increased cost of raw materials and supply constraints. Remember, there are only 4 makers of primers in the U.S., and 3 happen to be owned by Vista Outdoor, Federal, CCI, and Remington. And finally, while the trace is funded by Bloomberg, their reporting on the NRA has been all too accurate. Now we find out that when Wayne took a Bahamas cruise on a vendor's yacht for security reasons the summer after Sandy Hook, it just happened to coincide with his niece's wedding. Go figure. That and more is at onlygunsandmoney.com.
All right. Amanda, anything you want to plug with either your Friday evening or your Sunday show?
So we're doing Women for Gun Rights show, and it is going along splendidly. I have a gal out of Wisconsin coming up this next Friday. I just interviewed and put in the can Michelle Serino, and that is a great show. And we're going to be playing that while we're on our way to SHOT Show. So tune in, because these are amazing women doing amazing things. And then Eye on the Target Radio is kind of doing its standard regular thing. The interesting thing is this week we had Robin Sandoval on, and you guys all know Robin. Robin rolled out the stats for A Girl and a Gun for the year 2021, and they taught, educated 35,000 women in the year 2021.
Holy smoke.
Amanda, will you and Rob be on Radio Row at the SHOT Show?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about that is that with the fact that Eye on the Target Radio is nationally syndicated, and with the fact that I am the primary host and Rob is my trusty sidekick, that means that I am, we believe, the only nationally syndicated female Second Amendment radio host in the nation, because Dana Lash is now doing politics.
Okay.
So.
All right. On my end, it's been a whole lot of getting this working, is what I've been doing. So, nothing really for me to plug. I'm working on, next week, I want to get somebody from JPFO, or not JPFO, I'm sorry. I want to get somebody from CNJFO on to talk about, because the New Jersey legislature is going to be cranking up in the next few days, and I want to get somebody on from there next week to hopefully we can find out what the game plan is to fight against what's coming up. So we'll see. But just more planning and trying to get things for viewers, and for those of you who may be watching we're simulcasting this now on not only SAF but on the Polite Society Facebook page. For those of you that have been looking for the podcast version to return, you know it disappeared after the stroke. This should be the first one of the return on podcast. So also, if you would, when you listen to this, if you would search for the Daily Bullet podcast, that will be starting very soon, appearing in Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and all the places you normally catch your podcasts. The Daily Bullet will be appearing as podcast as well. So you don't have to show up at a certain time every day. If you want to have us tell you about the Second Amendment news while you're going back and forth to work, or while you're doing your housekeeping, or whatever, you can do it in podcast form. And I'm very proud to say that. So, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Susan, anything you want to talk about? I think she went.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, now I got to go find show notes because despite the fact that we've done 607 of these, I got to know how to close this.
See, that's part of the reason he loves me so much is because I'm a woman of few words.
Except when I screw up.
That's true.
All right. I do want to recommend everybody go, if you are on Facebook and you enjoy the show, go search Facebook for Polite Society Podcast listeners. We have a group of listeners there, and a lot of stuff goes up on in the group. I don't post in there very often, but I do follow what goes on in there. Just search Facebook for Polite Society Podcast listeners. Again, if you're so inclined, I'm not going to have you join Facebook just to do that. But that does wrap up another episode of the Second Amendment Foundation's Polite Society Podcast. I'd like to thank Shelley Hill for joining us today. So for Amy, Dana, Tracy, John, Susan, Amanda, Robin, Charlie, and Rob.
Until next time.
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
The views and opinions on the show you just heard are those of the host and the guest and are not necessarily the views of any sponsors or other affiliations. But hey, not everyone is as smart as we are.
All right, the recording is done. I want to get a couple questions up before I shut the stream down. Pete asks, thank you for being a voice for 2A at the main industry event SHOT Show. This is for you, Amanda. Such an important achievement for a show that historically ignores the 2A for the most part. Well done, Amanda. And then he follows up with...
Thanks, Pete. Thanks.
Any CCW fashion shows at SHOT this year?
Not at SHOT. That's not the audience for it. But let me tell you, I have been reaching out to NRA. I had been signed up and aligned to do it in Houston last year. So now with Susan LaPierre moving out of the NRA Women's Organization, my contact there has shifted. So now I'm trying to gain new inroads to see where I can, if I can get back into that lineup. So we'll see.
All right. And the last comment, and Facebook did finally start working. Charlie Chalmers, just a great show. Thank you all. Hey, Charlie, thanks for watching, man. Thanks for sharing it, because I know you do often. So, all right. We are going to go ahead and shut the stream down. Thanks for watching, everybody. And again, when this starts showing up on podcasts, please, everybody, share it and download podcasts as well. Thanks again, everybody. I'm going to flip this switch, and then